Everything is fine. Nothing is wrong. Nothing is pending. The people you care about are okay. Work is manageable. There is no specific thing you should be worried about right now. And yet, there's something that won't quite settle, a background tension that doesn't attach itself to anything in particular, an awareness running just underneath the surface that this could change, that something is probably coming, that it would be naive to fully exhale. So you don't, not completely. You stay just alert enough, just ready enough. You hold a small portion of yourself back from the good thing, because releasing it entirely feels less like peace and more like exposure. What this is costing you is hard to measure because it never produces a single dramatic moment. It just quietly takes the ceiling off every good period, leaving you present but not quite there, okay but not quite rested, safe but never fully down. There is a reason your nervous system won't let you land, and it has nothing to do with the present. What you are describing is hypervigilance, a state of chronic elevated alertness in which the nervous system continues scanning for threat even in environments that are objectively safe. Psychologist Bessel van der Kolk, whose research on the neurological effects of early adverse experience is among the most cited in modern trauma literature, describes hypervigilance not as anxiety, but as a recalibration failure. The nervous system was correctly calibrated to an environment that required constant monitoring. It simply never received the signal that the environment had changed. The result is a system running a threat detection program in the background of everything, not because you are anxious by nature and not because you are catastrophizing, because at some point, staying alert was the most rational thing you could do. That point has passed. The program hasn't. Most people who experience this interpret it as a personality trait, that they are simply a worrier, that they're not someone who can relax, that other people have an ease with life that they were somehow not built for. That interpretation makes it permanent. It makes it you. What it actually is a nervous system that learned to treat calm as a gap between threats rather than a state worth inhabiting. That is not a character. It is a calibration. And calibrations, unlike personalities, can change.
Mechanism 1. Your nervous system learned that calm preceded danger. In environments where difficulty arrived unpredictably, where a period of quiet could be followed without warning by conflict, crisis, or emotional upheaval, the nervous system makes a specific and logical adaptation. It stops treating quiet as safe. It begins treating quiet as the phase before the next thing. This is not irrational. In that environment, it was accurate. The calm frequently did precede something. Staying alert during the calm was the correct strategy. Developmental trauma researcher Dan Siegel, whose work on interpersonal neurobiology has shaped how clinicians understand the developing nervous system, describes this as threat anticipation encoding, the process by which the brain learns to associate seemingly neutral states with incoming difficulty. Over time, the neutral state itself becomes a trigger. The inability to relax when things are good is not pessimism. It is a nervous system that was trained on a specific pattern and is now applying that pattern to a life where it no longer fits. Mechanism 2. Vigilance became your sense of control. There is a second function that hypervigilance serves, which is less about fear and more about agency. In unpredictable environments, monitoring gave you something. It meant you were less likely to be caught off guard. It meant that when something did happen, you had seen it coming, which, even if it didn't change the outcome, felt less helpless than being taken by surprise. Psychologist Gabor Mate, whose work on the relationship between early environment and adult coping patterns has reached significant clinical and public audiences, describes this as the illusion of control through awareness. The vigilance doesn't prevent bad things, but it creates a sense of participation in what happens, a feeling of not being entirely passive in the face of whatever is coming. Letting that vigilance go doesn't just feel unsafe, it feels like giving up the one thing that made the uncertainty manageable. When something good happens, your first instinct is to identify what could go wrong with it. You have a specific feeling when life gets too quiet, not peace, but a low-level waiting, something that sits just underneath the surface and monitors. You find it hard to be fully present in good moments. Some part of you is always slightly elsewhere, accounting for exits, running scenarios, keeping track. You are better at handling crises than enjoying stability. Crises feel like something you know how to do. You have caught yourself bracing for impact when nothing is coming, just in case. You are not a negative person. You are someone whose nervous system was shaped in an environment where staying alert was the only way to stay ahead of what was coming next. The hypervigilance is not a flaw in your nervous system. It is evidence that your nervous system worked, that it adapted correctly to what it was given, and that it kept you functional in conditions that required it. What it costs in a life that is no longer that environment is the ability to actually be in the good parts, not just present for them, in them. That is worth recovering, and it starts with understanding that the alert isn't protecting you from anything real anymore. Drop a comment. Is it the waiting for something to go wrong, or the difficulty being fully present in good moments? Most people find it's one more than the other. If this is the kind of content you want more of, subscribe and leave a like. It's the best way to make sure the next one finds you.